Today I'm going to talk to you about social media and ICT, and more specifically the Humanitarian social network. So my focus, my contribution to this panel will be more about the meeting point between humanitarian organizations and the general public in terms of obviously donors, supporters, young talent. So let's just start about talking about the current ICT trends in the humanitarian sector. Obviously, the internet coming in has changed the whole communication patterns, providing most of us with near infinite reach at an extremely low cost. Yes. We can't go on without speaking about social media. Obviously, the big ones, Facebook and Twitter, that are used by most of you today to raise awareness for your causes, for your organizations, to communicate results and fundraise, among other things. But let me just take you through just a quick analysis of the use of social media in humanitarian organizations in terms of what most people are doing well and where there is room for improvement. Obviously, using social media has provided organizations with much more frequently updated news and results. It's much more easier to just post an update on Twitter or Facebook than to revamp your own website, for example. It's allowed you to integrate various media together in the same communication tool, be it blogs or written media, images or photos. Which has turned the whole conversation into a much more interactive process between yourself as the organization and the supporters and the donors. But where are the shortcomings? I think there are plenty actually. Like struggling to cut through the noise is something that I keep hearing about from organizations all the time. There's just so much happening on social media, it's always constantly updating. So whenever you post something, the next second there's something else that comes up and people, your message gets lost in all of this noise. The other aspect I would argue for is that communication, at least in terms of social media and humanitarian organizations, is not truly social. We say social media, but I would argue that communication is not truly social. Why? Because organizations have no face. When we say social media, when you're on Facebook with your friends, it's people-to-people communication. But when NGOs come in, they come in with a logo, with an organizational name, and they're trying to socialize, but they don't have a face, they don't have a personal name. So it's hard to foster this transparency that is so prevalent in social media. And often, social media is used like a broadcasting news service, if you like. So NGOs will just post results, but there's no personality, really. There's no human face to it. Let me take you through. This is just a regular Twitter feed. If you can see, this is very confusing. Twitter can get really, really confusing. Let me just highlight a couple of these tweets in there. We've got one here from Care International. Again, a logo, an organizational name. There's nothing really personal about this post. Here's one by the UN. This is just like a news service. There's, posting a link to newly updated results on, I think this one is about Japan. Up there, though, there's one with a personal name, with a human face. That's Craig Kielburger, the founder and CEO of a Canadian NGO called Free the Children. I would argue this post, however, can attract a lot more attention from most people. Why? Because there's a human face. It is truly transparent and authentic. And like all of these popular tweets out there, it's a live moment or a thought of a real person. Let's move on to Facebook. Just look at the newsfeed. What do you see? Your eyes might be attracted to the top right now because they're images. That's a friend of mine, posting photos of a party. That, I would argue, is strong competition because it's people that the user knows. It's got faces, it's got human connection, these people. Whereas down there, we've got one from Global Poverty Project, which is an NGO working on poverty, alleviating extreme poverty. This is just like a news broadcasting post, if you can say. It's hard to attract attention or to beat the noise when you've got pictures from that party of your friends that you've had. However, down there, we've got a post from somebody working for that organization, which I would argue, because of that name and that face, it feels much more real, much more authentic, and much more relatable. So where I'm going to with this argument is, I would argue the communication between the public and the NGOs, the humanitarian organization, feels like this diagram really. It's about people and a building, people and a logo, people and something completely faceless. And that, I would argue, it's probably not the best way to go about fostering transparency, support, and more accountability in the humanitarian sector. Construction going on. What we're trying to do at ItsOneHumanity is to bring out the people within that building, if you like, to showcase these humanitarian organizations. So to draw those links. So we've created something called the Humanitarian Social Network. It's on ItsOneHumanity.org, ITS1Humanity.org. And basically people come in and create their own humanitarian profile, so to speak, as individuals, not NGOs. But they will have profiles like that, where you will see a name and a photo. That's the first thing you see. If you dig down deeper in the profile, you might see that this person works for this or that NGO, but the first thing that you see is a face and a name. When you think about it, when it comes to NGOs and causes that you support, oftentimes you've got friends who champion these causes, and you can relate that cause to that friend and go, okay, I know this person, this is real. And that's really important, I think, in terms of fostering transparency and more trust in the sector. And that's not really being done so well so far on the internet. More profiles, obviously. People with faces posting, live updates on what they're doing in terms of humanitarian work. And it's all about education, mutual education between humanitarians working for different organizations, so cross-sectorial, and allowing them to share the work they do and connect and ultimately synergize. Socializing the conversation, really. This is a page by somebody who founded an NGO in Peru called Changes for New Hope, but instead of seeing a profile for Changes for New Hope, you see his profile, and then you can relate to this person just like you would do if you were to meet him face to face and hear about his story. So that's it for me. I invite you to join other humanitarian organizations that are already showcasing their work through their own people. I believe it's time to socialize the conversation, so I invite you on ITS1Humanity.org. It's OneHumanity.org. Thank you for your time.